Good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. I had a few hours here today. They changed my shift around at my outside gig, and there are things that have been brought to my attention this morning. Something that somebody said, something that I heard that I really want to address because this has been playing heavy on my mind, and there's no such thing as a coincidence, but there are things that I'm curious about. Most of my audience is women. Age group anywhere really from 26 to 62. I mentor, I teach art, women who want to start side hustles, how to go live, how to speak, how to find notes, where to go to research, so on and so forth, how to put a plan together for marketing. Most of my clientele, customers, are women. Something that was brought to my attention this morning was the man who feels he's never enough to match the energy to who his woman is. I'm Kitryn Marie, reside in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm an artist, writer, speaker, life and a business coach, teach a variety of art classes, how to put a vision board together based in psychology and life coaching. I teach group painting classes. Again, I mentor creative-minded women who want to start side hustles. There is such a mixed balance of the expectation of what a man needs or wants in his relationship. You hear the dynamic of what the woman wants, and you always hear women say, I've just received the bare minimum. I didn't get my needs met. I'm not getting what I want. Half the time, none of us get what we want. Most of the time, through growing up, through what we've had to experience in our lives, we learn these really weird coping mechanisms because masculinity has lost its role over the last, I'll say, 2 decades. And I don't mean that to be derogatory or to be mean or to be cruel or to be a feminist, but I think the expectation of what a man's role is has changed so much. And depending on how the man's father's role played out in their life, it very much took effect of who they have become now. We all say, I'm not going to be my parent. I am not going to be like that. I am not going to do that. And odds are there's about 60% of all of us who turn into one or two of our parents or whoever was the parental role in our situation. I hear myself saying things and I laugh because we laughed at my grandma, and I am so my grandma, it's almost silly. But then there's the other side of me where I am so my dad, it is just god awful ridiculous. And then my Aunt Phyllis, who very much had a huge hand in teaching me responsibility and accountability, and if you're not happy, it's up to you to change it. And if you're not happy with the situation, write it out, write it down, send it out, give it to. And then also she was the one that said, but if that doesn't work, you get to change the rules. You get to make them to work in your favor. Now that's just my particular situation. It's a conundrum of a bunch of different people that had their hand in trying to allow me to be the best version of myself. But as I've gotten older with my kids, my grandkids, the way that I work, the way that I take care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, it all comes down to what was instilled in me growing up. But for a man, who do you go to when there is nobody to talk to, when there is nobody to explain what's going on in your head? How are you getting through the day? How are you dealing with your relationships, why is it your efforts feel like they go unappreciated? Of course, I got my notes all up in front of me because, these are things. I have a psychology online thing that I go to that I use as my tools, especially for my vision board class, because oftentimes in the class, because it is women, relationships, and here's just a silly little example. One day last week I had, I lend my hand in the food and beverage industry. I work weird shifts. I work when they need me. I don't work when they don't need me. I mean, it works and behooves me. But I had a group of, maybe there were 10 of them. In the 10, 2 were couples who had been married for 60 and 63 years. Shug, stop. Shug, stop. And teasingly, I always say, oh, you brought your better half with you. And then usually the woman, she rolls her eyes. And I always, how long you been married? You got kids, you got grandkids, I'm sure you're retired. What'd you do for, for a living, growing, as you were raising your family, so on and so forth. Shug, oh, my dog. She's been a menace today. Shug, get over here. Shug! She's just obnoxious, and I don't know what to do with her. Anyway, the woman turns around and she says, trust me, 63 years has not been easy. Hold on. Shug! Get over here. Get over here. Get right here. Sit. Sit. Or I'll put you in the crate with the girls. She says to me, 63 years has not been easy. She said the first year, it was so blissful. She said it was the happiest year of my life. And she's laughing. And her friend who's sitting next to her, who's agreeing with her, and her husband is like shaking his head and rolling his eyes. And I said, then what happened after that first year? And she said, the mask came off like you would not believe. She said, you have no idea how many times in the 63 years I wanted to clunk them in the head or leave them on the street. And I looked at the gentleman. Now, mind you, they are in their 80s. And I say, well, you don't look like you're that kind of a bad guy that she would want to do that to you. He said, I've been trying to convince her of that for the last 62 years. And I said, well, she's still here with you. I'm hoping you are buying her lunch today. And then, of course, all the table laughs. But these are things. We always hear how the woman is feeling or what she has had to go through or what she has not gotten, no barking, through her life. But it's never discussed what the man's role is and how through generations things get lost and there is no balance. So I'm going to read some things, of course, because, I have to have some bullet points here because it's really playing on my mind where I always think, me personally, I get tired of the bare minimum. Now, the bare minimum might be different for everybody. And because somebody might flip you some dollars to allow you to buy something or to pay for something, that doesn't mean that they get, a card that says that they do not have to participate in the relationship. And although we're all working hard right now to make ends meet, we are all striving for something bigger and better and more fulfilling in our life. Bare minimum, just because somebody doesn't cheat on you, that does not mean that they get to detach from your home life or your children or your family or have an interest in who you are and what you do and vice versa. Doesn't get to shut down. When that man or that woman shuts down, that is bare minimum to the other partner. Also, the man that criticizes the woman on how she dresses and then turns around and complains how she's let herself go. Or she takes pride in how she dresses, how she cares for herself, physically, mentally, emotionally, weight, and all those kind of things. And yet he neglects his health, his look, his image, his appearance, because he doesn't have the wherewithal, because he's so mentally exhausted from the outside situations that he is having to deal with. Then when that man complains his woman has, she's let herself go, he forgets he criticized her on how she was taking care of herself. Those little digs about the extra weight, the little digs about all the gray that's coming in, the little digs about, why are you dressing like that? Why are you looking for this kind of attention? And odds are it's not that the woman is looking for attention, it's just what makes her feel good. Or even the man that says, I don't like that you wear makeup. I don't like women who wear a lot of makeup. Well, odds are she's not doing it for you. She's doing it for her. She has a standard. And if a man has let himself go, he doesn't care about his health, his image, his appearance. He no longer has a standard in which he is living up to that oftentimes comes from the bare minimum that he is expecting for himself. So a lot of the struggles, from a main talking point, the weight of expectations from a man's point of view. Society still expects men to be the provider. Men make more money than women. Somewhere along the line, I wish it was a little different. And in the industry that I'm in, my outside gig, it's about half and half, because my job, it comes down to quality of service, personality, and how I can entertain my tables in the few, minutes that I have them. But the provider and the protector, if you go back way before anything, hunters, gatherers, and the ones that stayed at home and nurtured the household. And then bring that forward, men who have lost masculinity, whose mothers did everything for them, they're expecting their women to do the same role, take the same position as caretaker, nurturer, financial backer, like their mother did. And then a man being the problem solver, how many men do you actually know who really don't listen, don't understand where a woman's need is coming from, and they don't know how to be a problem solver because they can't even solve their own problems in their own life, making the correct decisions because they don't know how to make a decision. Because they're afraid if they make the wrong decision, it messes everything up worse than not making a decision at all. Hope that made sense. The financial pressures and career expectations, feeling like their worth is tied to their income. I have always said, your money, your job, your title, your income does not say anything about who you are as a person. It's not about what's in your bank account, what's in your wallet, but who are you as an individual, and what is your role? What is your personal role? Where is your pride? Where is your standard? What image and goalpost are you keeping for yourself that you were trying to meet? Because by today's standards, there's too much competition. There are too many options. So if you are not comfortable with who you are, feeling your worth as a person, not based on your income, not based on your bank account, not based upon the money that you have, and it's definitely not who you have at your side, because your worth is not dependent on that other person. Your worth is dependent on who you are as an individual and how you are contributing to whatever relationship that you're in. The unspoken rule. A real man figures it out on his own. You can ask all of my kids. My motto, the thing I always say is, I'll figure it out. Everything is figure-outable. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'll make it happen. I'll figure it out. That is the hyper independence on my position, because the people that have come into my life have literally let me down. The ones that I want to depend on, who want to keep offering and breadcrumbing and the bare minimum, you can't depend on them. So as a person, you have to figure it out. As an individual who is independent with nobody to rely on, everything needs to be figure-outable. A woman, though, will go and talk to her closest, people. Who is the man going to talk to? He might come home all grumpy. His day may not have gone, the right way. He's dealing with idiots in his workforce. But who is he really talking to, and who is he releasing that to? And it's a cop-out when he runs to the bar because he needs to decompress. There's too much addiction, there's too much temptation, there's too much of a bad environment. The sum of 5, you get sucked into that misery because misery loves company. A man does not mostly know how to converse the emotion and where to put it throughout the day. So therefore, when he's bringing it home, he's like releasing this horrible energy that just makes that woman want to back off. Why? Why? To be happy, to have this relationship that is working for both, a balance. Where's the balance? The struggle with vulnerability. And that's what it comes down to. Men are taught to suppress emotion. It's rare when I see a man cry, and oftentimes it's through a funeral or a loss. Men don't cry. Men don't really break down and show emotions to those on the outside. It is far and few between, because somewhere along the line they've been told you were not supposed to feel. Men, even sometimes women who have gone into the military, they are taught, don't think, don't feel, don't have emotion, don't show a reaction. Do what you're told, walk the line, follow the lead, and do what needs to be done within a steadfast balance. Don't let anybody know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. Just do what you're told. Get yourself through the situation, overcome. And that's not right. It's not, in any sense of the way, it is not right. Because when that person gets out of the military and they have to function in real life, in the real world, you can't carry that life into a functioning society that is based on connections with other people in all dynamics of a situation or a relationship. And it impacts the relationships. Women want emotional depth. Men are conditioned to hide it. The fear of being judged. Will I be seen as a man if I am struggling emotionally? If I am struggling mentally, how does that make me look as the gender that I am? This is something too, the changing definition of masculinity. We've all seen it. There is a plethora of young men who do not know how to be a man. They don't know manners. They don't know what it's like to really have that man role. Chivalry is not dead. Are you opening your woman's car door? Are you complimenting her on her shoes? It's that simple. Instead of criticizing the makeup she has on or what she's wearing, compliment her on something that is just so random and out of the character that she is expecting. Flowers. Are you bringing her flowers? Are you bringing her candy? Now, me personally, I am not a flower kind of girl. I'm a plant kind of girl. Bring me a rose bush. Bring me a palm tree. Although I do like sunflowers. What are you doing as a man to show her that the man role that you have, does she feel safe? Are you providing emotional safety for her? And if you are together in the same household, what financial provisions are you sharing? And what is the role you're expecting from her to get your need met, to get your wants met? All the pressure of you going to work as a man, she's taking care of the house, she's taking care of the kids. You get up, you get yourself together, you might drop a kid off to school, you go to work. Your role during that you play during the day, when you come home, your role as a man, what are you participating in that household? I don't want to stand at my stove every day. I live that life. It is a dual responsibility in a household. If I'm working and you're working, we both have jobs that physically take a toll on our body. There should be mutual sharing in that household responsibility where both needs are getting met, because as a person, you have to function because you need to eat. That's just a small thing about it. How social media and pop culture influence the perception of what men should be. The divide: some men embrace emotional intelligence while most resist change. They don't want change. They want things to be the same. It's comfortable. It's familiar. And then when you present an opportunity for change that shows that there needs to be an emotion of excitement to get you out of the misery that you're in, and then if you turn around and you take it out on her because she's looking for, growth and progress, it plays havoc on the relationship, because change, if there is not change, it causes stagnancy. And where there is stagnancy, it causes misery. Men are most likely to seek help at a bar for depression, anxiety, and stress. Not too many men will reach out for counseling, although he will suggest to the woman, well, if you're not happy and if you feel something is not right, then maybe it's you that needs to go to counseling, without taking accountability for why she is feeling so miserable. And you can reverse that role, but most men don't seek counseling. They don't. They take it as a sign of weakness. The silent epidemic of high suicide rates for men. That's a very touchy topic, because the most resilient, intelligent, financially positioned, set in society amongst peers that are respected, oftentimes they're the ones that suffer the most. They're the ones that struggle with this inner turmoil of being in society and showing this great face where inside they're crumbling. And the suicide rate seems to be growing. And until we really get a handle for both men and women on what real mental health looks like, and the crisis that we are all seeing and dealing with in a regular daily basis. Relationships and dating pressures. Men feel pressure to have it all together before they feel worthy of love. Now, at 63, I'm going to be 64 in July, I would like to think anybody who would come into my life at this point, they have some part of their life together. They're not living in an apartment from an ex. They, have raised their children, and they still have a hand in, but not on. Having financial security, not that your worth comes from your money, but you're able to take care of yourself. You're able to pay your own bills. You're able to go on vacation. You're able to do all the good and the fun things that come along with being responsible and accountable. You know, you should be planted, is what I'm trying to say. As a man, you get to a certain point. You have to be planted. You have to be secure with your surrounding and what you are providing for yourself before you can even allow anybody else to come into your world. You know, the struggle between being the nice guy versus being the alpha. For me, if you're not the alpha, I don't want you. Meet my energy, because I get tired of being the strong one all the time. A woman needs somebody she can emotionally depend on. Financially, she can take care of herself, but it's the emotional demands, the mental demands. Be my security. You know, don't be texting while you're driving. Nobody should be doing that, right? You've got a man who has road rage. He's got his woman who is sitting in the car. You know, she's getting fearful because his actions aren't rational. That is not alpha. That's the man not being able to be in control of his anger. And then we go into a whole other topic on anger issues and not being able to place it where it needs to go and directing it to the wrong person. You know, traditional and modern dating expectations, they collide. They really do. You know, does anybody relate? Is anybody understanding what I am getting at? There is such a off balance of what the man's role is by today's standards. Having a conversation with one of the gals that I worked with last night, we were talking about cleaning and supplies, and you know, I keep saying I want one of those Roombas that sweep the floor and then go around and mop the floor. You know, I've got my herd of pets over here. And I had said to her, I said, you know, when I was a kid, my grandma, all of my aunts would come over and they would help my grandma clean. You know, they would do the blinds, they would do the windows, they'd do all the curtains, you know, and it would be an all-day thing. We had hardwood floors. You know, they would do all the floors, they would do all the baseboards. And then at the end of the day, the women would all cook. And then all the men would come over and then we'd all sit, you know, at the table and whatever. And the gal that I was talking to, she said, why didn't the men help? Where was their role in all that cleaning? And I just busted out laughing. I said, this is the early 60s I'm talking about. Men actually didn't really take a role in the household or cleaning or chores other than maybe he took the trash out because he was too busy providing, you know, having this pat on the back ego, man of the house. And at that time, that was the role that men took. There was no participating in home life and chores. And the girl, she kind of just looked at me and she said, really? And I go, yeah, really. You know, so what is the role that you are taking and how are you helping? And how are you not hindering? And what is it that you are needing from any of us so you feel appreciated? There is such a misdialogue and a misunderstanding of what everybody's needs are and why everybody's needs are not getting met and why we are seeing revolving door syndrome from people who keep switching out people, going from person to person to person. They can't be alone. They keep thinking that if they find this one person, they can mold them into what they need, but they don't even understand what they need. They've never addressed it. It's just gone unnoticed. It has been swept under a rug, swept under whatever, and eventually as you're sweeping, there's this huge mound, and it trips everybody up. But those are things that have been on my mind. The role of being appreciated and the frustration that comes with the awareness, the understanding, the communication that has created disconnect in the relationships of being a man and what his needs are, what his expectations are, and what we can do better as women to understand where are they going to talk? Where are they going that they can release in a safe environment where alcohol or drugs or addictions or other miserable people are coming together? Because at the end of the day, if that's what they are attaching themselves to, they bring all that home and nothing is ever resolved. If you would like to learn more, reach out Kitryn_Marie at yahoo.com. Anybody is welcome to take my vision board class. Although I mostly teach women, I would be happy to open it up to men. In a group type setting would be wonderful. I'm not real comfortable on that private one-on-one. The class is $65 per person. I'd like a minimum of 10. But I'm Kitryn Marie. I do reside in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm an artist, a writer, speaker of life, and a business coach for today, for tomorrow. Be happy, be blessed, be thankful for everything. Fate turns on a dime. It is up to you to decide what side of that coin you want to be on. Take care. Enjoy the day. Hope this all made sense. Take care, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.